In the grandeur of the ducal palace belonging to House Cassius, a noble family of 7 enjoyed what seemed to be an ideal life. The father, Duke Cassius, was a nobleman of the highest rank, and his 3 children, Leandro, Lelhaim, and their adopted sister Rienna, were cherished dearly. The household sparkled with honor, wealth, and unity. But beneath this perfect image, something darker simmered. And tonight, everything would change, because a woman no longer wished to be the wife of her husband, but desired instead to live a life that didn't leave her invisible in her own home. Let's start the story. Leandro turned to his younger sister Rienna and said gently, Rienna, you should eat the carrots too. With a scrunched up nose and a shake of her head, Rienna protested. No! I hate carrots, Leandro tried to reason with her. If you want to stay healthy, you shouldn't be picky about food. But Rienna remained firm. I said no, Leandro. I won't die just because I skipped some carrots. Lelhaim, the second son, laughed and teased. Shouldn't carrots be your favorite food, little bunny? Before the joke could go further, Duke Cassius slammed his utensils on the table in fury. Enough! No one can force my daughter to eat anything she doesn't like. How dare they serve food she hates? I'll dismiss everyone involved in preparing this meal. Shocked, Rienna quickly ran to her father, tugging at his arm. No, Dad! You can't! You're not the kind of person who fires people over something so small, right? After a brief pause, the Duke sighed and relented. Fine. Since you say so, I'll let it go this one time. Lelhaim chuckled at the exchange. How are you going to survive in this world, being so naive, little bunny? Leandro added with a smile. Rienna, you're too nice to a fault. But not everyone at the table found the scene amusing. Ethel, Leandro's wife, sat silently, her expression growing darker by the second. She could no longer hold her frustration. Are they for real? She muttered under her breath. Is that how people treat a 20-year-old grown-up? Leandro turned to her. Is something wrong, Ethel? Her voice was sharp. No, I just don't have any appetite. That's all. Thanks to you all, I've completely lost it. In an attempt to cheer Rienna up, Lelhaim joked. I'll give you a present if you eat all the carrots on your plate. Leandro joined in, smiling. I'll give you one too. Rienna's eyes lit up. You're giving me presents when it's not even a special day? Lelhaim leaned in and whispered to Leandro. Brother, did you prepare a present for your wife? Otherwise, she'll sulk. Ethel, hearing this, perked up with excitement. Indeed. Do you have a present for me? Leandro blinked in confusion. What are you talking about? There's no occasion today. Ethel's smile vanished. Today is our wedding anniversary. We got married exactly 2 years ago today. Leandro froze. Wedding anniversary. Lelhaim burst into laughter. How could you forget your wedding anniversary? What a terrible husband, Rienna gasped. Oh my! You're right. It is today. Even Duke Cassius frowned. You're married, son. You should pay attention to your family. Rienna tilted her head, confused. Goodness, what's up with everyone today? Leandro tried to explain. It's my fault I forgot our wedding anniversary, but... Ethel's inner voice screamed. Did he really just say but when not even a sincere apology would be enough? Trying to shift blame, Leandro said. Is there a rule that only the husband has to give a present to the wife on their anniversary? What about the wife? Ethel fell into deep thought, retreating into painful memories. When she first woke up in this fictional world, she believed she had been blessed. In her past life, she died in a tragic traffic accident and reincarnated into her favorite novel, A Returner's Rosy Second Life. In the story, Rienna was a tragic orphan who later found happiness after being adopted by Duke Cassius and becoming the center of her new family's love. Ethel had married Leandro, her favorite character in the book. With his golden hair and deep blue eyes, he was everything she had ever dreamed of, capable, handsome, perfect. Though their marriage was for convenience, she felt honored just to be his wife. Being part of the ducal family was like winning a golden ticket, front row to the stories she had once adored, but reality was far from the novel. Leandro had abandoned her on their honeymoon. He sent their first anniversary gift through an aide. On her birthday, he dismissed her with, I'm busy. When she tried to spend time with him, he always replied. I've just gotten back from a walk with Rihanna. Or, Rihanna is looking for me. No matter how hard she tried, she always came second, or not at all. She was invisible in her own marriage. Back in the present, Leandro continued. I don't think you can blame me for. He never finished his sentence. With trembling hands and a heart full of heartbreak, Ethel threw a wrapped gift at Leandro's face. The room fell into stunned silence. Leandro stared at her in shock. She had kept buried for 2 years. I want a divorce! Ethel stood up from her seat, her voice sharp and unwavering. Let's proceed with the divorce process as soon as possible. Leandro's eyes widened in disbelief. Divorce? He stammered. The entire dining hall fell silent, stunned by her declaration. Duke Cassius rose slowly from his seat, his expression firm. Ethel, are you serious about what you just said? She gave a curt nod, then offered a final farewell. Farewell, everyone. Ignoring the stunned looks and the maids rushing to stop her, she walked briskly out of the room and back to her chambers. Once inside, Ethel made her way to the jewelry box, opening it with a bitter smile. I can't just leave empty-handed, can I? She murmured. But just as she reached for her belongings, the door burst open. Ethel! Leandro shouted, furious and confused. Are you serious about getting a divorce? Yes, she replied calmly, without hesitation. I'm very serious. His voice rose. But why? What's the reason? Ethel picked up a briefcase and moved past him. Step aside. I'm leaving. Leandro reached out, his words tumbling in frustration. It's my fault that I forgot our anniversary, but you can't be doing this just because. Ethel spun around. Do you really think this is just about the anniversary? Leandro looked desperate. I know we're not that close. But isn't that normal in arranged marriages? A bit of distance? No, she said, her voice edged with pain. This is not simply about us not being close enough. Then what other reason could there be? Leandro demanded. But then his eyes landed on a wedding dress near bed. Ethel, look at that. Do you remember when you got married to me in this dress? Try to recall that happy moment. She stared at the dress, then looked away. It wasn't a happy moment, Leandro blinked. Pardon? I wasn't happy then. Also, both that dress and our wedding don't bring back happy memories. Her words transported her back in time, months before the wedding, in the 5th drawing room of the ducal palace. She had been trying on dresses, while Leandro, lounging on the couch with a book, barely acknowledged her. That suits you well, he'd said blandly. Ethel could still recall how surreal it felt to have an entire boutique relocated to the palace for her fitting. Something a girl from House Wallace could never dream of. But for all the luxury, her heart was heavy. Her family had pushed her into this marriage. Her father had insisted. You must get married to Lord Cassius no matter what, her mother had added. Where else could you meet a man of such superior status? Even her brother chimed in selfishly. Will my life get easier if my sister becomes Duchess Cassius? She had agreed. Not for love, but for escape. At least I won't have to see these despicable people once I'm married, she had thought. Back in that memory, the door flew open. Leandro! Rihanna had called joyfully. I was curious to see how my future sister-in-law would look in a wedding dress. Ethel had watched Rihanna's youthful excitement and thought, when I read this novel, I thought I'd like to have such a loving family. And after the wedding, I'd be one of them. Can I try on one of the dresses if you don't mind? Rihanna had asked sweetly. Pardon? Ethel was surprised, but she understood. It's only natural. At your age, I too yearn to wear a wedding dress. Leandro looked puzzled. Why would you want to try on a wedding dress? Maybe I shouldn't, should I? Rihanna's smile faded slightly. It's all right, Lelheim had said, entering the room. Letting her try it on wouldn't hurt. Suit yourself, Leandro had muttered. Moments later, the entire family arrived unexpectedly. Brother, is Rihanna here? Lelheim asked, stepping in. Oh, Lady Wallace, you're here too? Then came Duke Cassius. We thought we'd have tea with Rihanna. The servants told us she'd be here. Ethel gritted her teeth. Of course I'm here, you jerk. It's my dress-fitting day. Just then, Rihanna stepped out in one of Ethel's wedding dresses. Dad, Lelheim! I didn't know you were both here too, she said happily, spinning like a model. What do you think? Isn't this dress so gorgeous? What are you doing wearing that? Lelheim shouted, flustered. Rihanna replied without care. Because I want to. It feels like only yesterday when my daughter said she'd marry me. Duke Cassius said sentimentally. That was a long time ago, Dad. Rihanna laughed. What are you saying, Father? It's me that she promised to marry. Lelheim interjected. Ethel watched in silence, eyes narrowing. Were they this silly in the novel too? Leandro finally exploded. What are you two talking about? Finally, Ethel muttered under her breath. At least one person seems to, Duke Cassius declared again. Rihanna promised she'd marry me. Enough! Rihanna suddenly shouted. Dad! Brothers! Stop making a fuss over something I said when I was a child. Just sit down and watch the other dresses I'll try on. Everyone quieted, then began exiting the room. Duke Cassius asked. Shall we go have tea now? Okay, Dad! Rihanna said cheerfully. Lelheim tease. Good luck, brother. And they left the room. Ethel sighed. They finally left. I'm so exhausted. Leandro stepped toward her, holding a gown. What do you think of this one? You looked very beautiful in this. She blinked, surprised. That can't be true, but when you tried this on, I definitely thought. Ethel's expression turned to fury. When did I wear that? Back then. Leandro started, confused. Ethel's voice cracked like a whip. The person who wore that dress wasn't me. It was your sister. Her words struck harder than any slap. The truth Leandro had overlooked for too long now stood before him, unforgiving, unignorable, and final. Leandro stared at Ethel in disbelief. It was Rihanna, he whispered, his voice cracking. Then, almost shouting, how could I make such a foolish mistake? You must be mistaken. Ethel's eyes narrowed. Do you think I'm an idiot who can't even tell what I tried on? I can tell that much too. Leandro barked back. Are you making things up to put the blame on me? What? Ethel gasped. Are you insinuating that I'm lying? That's not what I mean, but… Leandro faltered. Although you and Rihanna look quite alike, how could I possibly confuse you with her? Ethel's voice trembled as she asked. How? Where? When? If that were to be true… Leandro looked at Ethel, a pang of guilt in his expression. Why didn't you say anything back then? You must have been very offended, Ethel scoffed. Are you saying that I shouldn't fuss about it after all this time? Then her tone turned ice cold. What did I say at dinner this evening? Leandro was confused. Why are you asking me that all of a sudden? Indulge me. He took a moment to think. You said you had no appetite. You asked me if I had prepared a present for you, and then you said we should get divorced. Ethel nodded. And what happened before that conversation? Leandro's eyes clouded as he remembered. A flashback played in his mind. Ethel had said, That's exactly where I stand in this house. That's been my situation since I became your wife. What do you think it was like before we got married? Ethel, he murmured. She picked up her briefcase. How could I dare point out Lord Cassius' mistake? She thought bitterly to herself, looking at him recommend the dress Rihanna tried on. I thought, why would the Cassius family alienate me? I kept telling myself, let's not rush things. It takes time to get close with them. But over time, she had realized the truth. There was no room for her in their hearts. I admit that my family has an unusually close bond, Leandro offered weakly. That's exactly why I'm leaving, she snapped. I'm the odd one out in this family. He tried to stop her, gently placing his hand on her shoulder. But Ethel brushed it off with a sharp movement. I'll prepare our divorce papers and send them to you, she said firmly. So you'll only need to sign them. Wait, Ethel. Please listen to me. I've heard enough of your crap. What did you just say? Get lost, you turd, Ethel hissed, her anger erupting as she stormed out. As she entered the grand hall, the family stood frozen with maids in the background. Lelheim asked hesitantly. Ethel, how did your talk go? Rihanna added. What did Leandro say? Leandro still chased after her, trying to reason with her. Ethel, expressing your anger like this won't help. But Ethel didn't look back. She left the palace with her head held high, disappearing into the city and checking into a hotel. She threw herself onto the bed with a triumphant sigh. This feels awesome, she exclaimed. I was a bit worried that I couldn't bring much of my stuff with me, but now, I couldn't feel more at home. Let's not think about trivial matters for now. Getting divorced is the priority. Back at the palace, Leandro and Lelheim sat at a garden tea table, the tension between them thick. Lelheim asked, "Brother, are you really going to just let this be? What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about your wife, of course." Leandro leaned back. "I'm sure she'll come back before long. Don't you remember how she left after dropping such an announcement? Are you so shocked that you lost your wits?" Leandro replay. "My wife is a wise woman. She might have demanded a divorce in a fit of anger, but I'm sure she's regaining her senses by now." Lelheim wasn't convinced. "Isn't that just your wishful thinking?" Leandro added. "You're well aware that we didn't marry for love in the first place, so you're implying she'll come back for the sake of her house? But what if she never returns?" "She will." Lelheim was very worried. "And what makes you so sure?" "Rihanna told me that this marriage won't end. She's been providing useful information to our family at critical moments, and catches people off guard with her occasional eloquent speech." "After all," Lelheim admitted, "what she said has surprisingly proven to be true up to this point. That's why I believe there won't be a divorce," Leandro said with confidence. But the next morning proved otherwise. A servant knocked at Leandro's door. "Pardon me, my lord, are you awake?" "Her ladyship has." Leandro jumped out of bed, rushing toward the door. "I knew it," he said, heart pounding. "She's finally." He flung the door open. "Run toward outdoor." Servant shout from behind, my lord. He tried to stop her. Leandro reply in excitement. "I knew it. She's finally back." But it wasn't Ethel. It was the postman. The man asked, "Lord Leandro Cassius? Who are you?" "I'm here to deliver this on behalf of Lady Ethel Wallace." "This is to be delivered to you." Leandro accepted the envelope, dread curling in his stomach. He opened it, and his heart dropped. It was the divorce agreement. He stood frozen in shock, staring at the papers in his trembling hands. The next day, in front of City Hall, Royan, capital of the Astaroth Empire, Leandro stood in front of the grand structure of City Hall, his steps hurried and his face taut with tension. The morning air was heavy with anticipation. Just then, Ethel appeared, walking with calm certainty. "Ethel!" Leandro shouted as soon as he saw her. "What were you thinking sending me this?" Ethel raised an eyebrow, unfazed. "Oh my! I see you arrived first," she said dryly. "Of course, I sent it to divorce you. Why else would I?" "Divorce?" he repeated, stunned. "Are you truly going to part ways with me? Then does this look like a ruse to you?" Leandro's voice cracked with emotion. "How could you do this to me? What a fool I am to have been concerned about you," she snapped. "Who asked you to be concerned about me?" "Well, at least you admitted that you're a fool." "Ethel!" he shouted in frustration. "What?" she yelled back, matching his energy. "You didn't think I could raise my voice too, did you?" Leandro paused, taken aback. Then, lowering his tone, he said, "I've been thinking a lot about us since you left." "You were right. Since we got married, I've been such a—" She interrupts coldly. "That talk can wait until after we submit our divorce papers. Can't you see I'm trying to apologize to you?" "How can you? I'm not at all curious about how sorry you are," she cut in. "Do I have to forgive you if you apologize? Do I have to smile like nothing ever happened?" Her thoughts were bitter and sharp. "How dare he act like a victim," she said. "It seems nothing can save our relationship, so why don't we just end it? I can't bear the sight of you anymore." And turned to walk away. "Ethel!" Leandro called after her, then in frustration, he tore up the divorce agreement. "The document is damaged, so why don't we go somewhere and talk about—" "Don't worry," she said without looking back. "I prepared a copy, just in case." She pulled another agreement from her purse. "Another?" Leandro muttered in disbelief. "Actually, I brought 4 extra copies." "Oh wait, there's one more," she added cheerfully. Leandro snatched the documents and threw them away. "Even if you bring me thousands of copies, my answer will still be no." "Fine," Ethel said coolly. "Then let's go to court." "Do you believe you can win a case against me, a Cassius?" "Absolutely," she shouted. "So let's get divorced, Leandro Cassius." The bystanders nearby began to murmur among themselves. "Cassius. Come to think of it, that gentleman looks like Duke Cassius' son. Damn it!" Leandro muttered and tried to hide his face with his arm. Ethel, meanwhile, was secretly pleased. It's only a matter of time before rumors spread about the bad relationship between Lord Cassius and his wife. Her inner voice was resolute. Even if this divorce case turns into mudslinging, I have nothing to lose. Let's see who'll get tired and give in first. She walked away from the scene, leaving Leandro behind in the whispers of the crowd. Ethel's thoughts, a battle within. She questioned herself, is a lawsuit truly the only answer? Did your husband have an affair? Did he use violence? No, never. Did he use abusive language? Did he gamble? Not at all. Does he have a child out of wedlock? Did he refuse to pay your living costs? No. He allocates about 5,000 gold monthly for her expenses and even provides a separate personal allowance. Ethel clenched her fists in frustration. I don't want to admit it, but Leandro is an excellent husband on the surface. There was only one thing she could cite as grounds for divorce. But it was too sensitive to even discuss with a lawyer. Just then, Leandro approached quietly behind her. Ethel, perhaps you misunderstood. I'm not very good at expressing my emotions, he said, voice low and sad. But my feelings for you haven't changed. Not one bit. Although one thing led to another and things have come to this, Ethel scowled. He's so persistent. Am I supposed to believe that? You have no feelings for me whatsoever. That's not true, Leandro insisted. I married you because I liked you, and I don't want us to divorce because I still do. There were so many other noble families I could have chosen from, but you were the only woman I considered to be my wife. Ethel's voice dropped, laced with bitterness. Do you think I don't know why you chose House Wallace? Leandro's expression froze. The abandoned mine in Anala, she said. He paled. How? Rihanna wanted that mine, which was owned by House Wallace. That's why you married me. The mine was one of our few valuable properties. Excavating magic stones used to be a lucrative business, but as profitability declined, it was abandoned. Who would have known that white elephant would become a golden goose in the future? Leandro stood stunned. The truth now laid bare between them. Ethel stared at Leandro, her eyes sharp. The abandoned mine in Anala, that's why you married me. Leandro looked stunned. How do you know that? She said sharply. You confessed to me while you were drunk, did I? He asked, uncertain. Yes. Can't you even remember saying that? She responded. She thought to herself, of course, you can't remember, because it's a lie. Have we even talked face to face before this? One night you told me that Rihanna wanted the Anala mine so badly, you decided to marry me. She continued. Leandro suddenly shouted. Absolutely not. Well, I might have approached your family because of the mine at first, but when I laid my eyes on you, I immediately felt an attraction. After that, my feelings for you gradually grew. Ethel's voice was bitter. Then why did your attitude change after our wedding? Why have you neglected me so far? It's because... He started, but she turned away. Stop telling such a blatant lie. Do you think I'm a fool? She snapped, pulling away. Ethel! Leandro grabbed her hand, trying to stop her. Please, give me a chance to explain myself. Why? She hissed. Do you need to persuade me more so I'll hand over the Anala mine? Withdrawing her hand, she stormed off and left her husband behind, walking towards mine. I will never allow them to take the mine away from me, Ethel declared to herself. Fortunately, the Anala mine is still registered under my name. She recalled her conversation with her father. The best way for us to reduce our tax obligation is for you to give me the mine now, and then I can transfer it to my husband later. In the future, new technologies might enable us to dig deeper, so we have no reason to hurry and hand it to them now, don't we? The mine still held a large reserve of magic stones, but they were buried too deep underground. Excavating them now would be a losing business. The golden goose is mine. Whenever her husband brought up the mine, she found excuses to delay the name transfer. The documents have yet to arrive from my parents. They must have gone missing in an accident during delivery. Apparently, House Wallace's tax accountant fell ill from overwork. House Cassilis would certainly try to take the mine by any means, claiming House Wallace promised it as dowry. Once ownership was transferred, retrieving it would take much more effort. That's why Ethel had to wrap up this divorce as soon as possible. Wanderer's Forest, just outside the capital city. Ethel arrived alone, watching from behind a tree. "It must be somewhere around here," she whispered. Suddenly, a rock tumbled, and a flash of light revealed a man standing with a glowing sword in his hand. "That man, he's the novel's antagonist," she gasped. "Rihanna's archenemy, Marquis Terence Freehyden." She was shocked. "I knew he'd be here, but I didn't expect to find him right away." "What should I do?" Terence, a high-ranking noble, held secrets about his real identity that would one day grant him even greater power. "It may sound lame, but I should just say that I'm lost. When will I ever run into him again? A chance like this doesn't come every day. I can't spend the rest of my life enduring their neglectful treatment in that house," the Marquis demanded. "Who goes there? If you want to live, reveal yourself." He slashed at the tree with his sword. "I know you're hiding behind me with bated breath." His attack was powerful, an explosion of energy. Ethel gasped in fright. But someone else had been hiding in the tree. A hidden figure leapt out to strike the Marquis, but he swiftly brought the attacker down in a single stroke. "How boring," he muttered. "How come the assassin's skills get poorer and poorer?" He hoisted the unconscious attacker onto his shoulder and turned to leave. Ethel, trembling behind the tree, whispered, "I don't think today is the day. It's too bad, but maybe next time." Just then, her foot slipped on the rocky ground. She fell, only to be caught in strong arms. "What is this firm touch?" she thought, blinking. The man holding her looked surprised as well. "Whoa, he's really handsome up close. Oh no!" What was she thinking? He dropped her to the ground. "I saw him leave. When did he come back?" "Thank you. You saved my life," she said, finally finding her voice. "What is a young lady like yourself doing in these deep woods?" the Marquis asked, his tone curious but cautious. "Oh, I took the wrong path," she replied quickly. "Wrong path? If you don't mind me asking, for what purpose did you enter the Wanderer's Forest?" "I was just strolling," she said. "The trail is a long way away from here," he replied, narrowing his eyes. "And it's in the opposite direction." I knew it'd be a lame excuse, she thought, inwardly cringing. "Are you saying you got lost while taking a walk alone in the Wanderer's Forest?" the Marquis asked, his piercing gaze fixed on her. Ethel froze for a moment, her mind spinning. "That sounds like nonsense even to me," she thought. Then, trying to recover, she replied nervously. "What I mean to say is, I'm here to run a personal errand, and that's why I was walking in the woods when I got lost." The Marquis narrowed his eyes. "Could you tell me what your personal errand is about?" "That's a personal matter, so I'm afraid I can't." Ethel hesitated. The Marquis moved his hand toward his sword. "That's odd. The only people you can find around here are wandering mercenaries." Ethel panicked inwardly. "He's suspecting me. He's totally suspecting me. If need be, I should use my self-defense amulet." "Did you know who you'd find here today?" the Marquis asked, now gripping his sword. "I'll tell you!" Ethel burst out. "It is very personal, but since you saved my life, the least I can do is to share it with my savior. Actually, I came to find a mercenary who will escort me. I intend to divorce my husband, but he threatened that he'd never let me go. So I left home, but I'm afraid he'll find me sooner or later." "Oh, I see," the Marquis responded, his voice softening. "You seem like a noble lady. Why not hire a private knight?" "It's embarrassing to say, but I can't afford such service." Ethel's voice trembled as tears welled up in her eyes. "My apologies. I didn't mean to pry into your personal affairs," the Marquis said, now more composed. "Not at all. I was the one who suddenly appeared and inconvenienced you." Ethel smiled faintly, thinking my plan worked. "Well then, I should take my—" She turned and tripped. "Ouch! Why is there a fallen tree here? This must be the one you broke while you were training," she added, looking at the shattered trunk. "You must have amazing skills, sir." "I do. I'm not one to brag, but I am a pretty good swordsman, if I do say so myself. I'm sure you won't regret it if you hire me as your escort," he said with a confident smirk. "Pardon? I don't understand." "Hire me as your bodyguard," he offered. "You, as my bodyguard. I'm a wandering mercenary too. As it happens, I'm looking for someone to hire me." "Bullshit. You're a Marquis," Ethel thought. As I already mentioned, I'm not in a very good financial position right now. I won't charge you more than my basic rate. I'm not sure if I could treat a person with such great skills like that. Please don't worry. Receiving my base rate helps plenty when business is quiet. But still, I think I'd be more comfortable with a female guard. That won't be a problem since we won't be staying in the same room. Ethel's eyes lit up. Wait. Isn't this my chance? This could be a golden opportunity to form a close enough relationship to make a deal over that information. She smiled. Well, if you say so. I'll be in your care. Likewise. Please call me Tell. That is how I came to hire the novel character with a dark past as my bodyguard, Ethel thought. I made a good decision, right? I'm Ethel. I'm still using my husband's surname, but since I'm divorcing him soon, I'm just Ethel Wallace. She chose her words carefully. The Cassius name can only make him wary of me. Since Terence has been completely removed from high society, I'm sure he's not familiar with my maiden surname, he replied. I'm T. I'm from a humble background, so I don't have a surname. He didn't even bat an eye when he just lied to me. Ethel thought, glancing at him, secretly delighted. Who cares when he's so awfully handsome? If the novel had illustrations of its characters, I would have loved Terence. T asked. If you are living apart from your husband, where are you staying now? She replies. I'm staying at a hotel. I plan on getting a house in the near future. Then I should stay there too. Is the next room available? Most probably. Oh, your lodging expenses are on me. Also, you can order room service once a week. I'm an advocate of employee welfare. You don't have to. I can pay myself, she asked. Do you have the money for that? Ahem, then I'll accept them gratefully. You shouldn't forget you're acting as a poor mercenary. Marquis Ethel grinned inwardly. The Terence I know from the novel can't stand a debt for better or worse. I'll get this back with interest someday. They walked toward the hotel. Later that evening, as they arrived at their rooms, the Marquis took a moment to observe Ethel. What a strange woman. The embarrassed look on her face was quite intriguing, and when she tried to escape, I found myself wanting to stop her. Still, it's very unlike me to voluntarily go through trouble like this. He sat at the desk, writing a letter. Absence is to be prolonged for an indefinite period. Since I decided to do it, let's do it perfectly. Ethel slept soundly that night. The Marquis, however, didn't touch the bed. He sat through the entire night in a chair, watching over her. The next morning, they visited a shop. The shopkeeper. Welcome! Are you looking for anything specific? She asked. I'd like to buy some medicinal tea herbs, Ethel said, noticing the Marquis subtly rubbing his temples. It seems he's having a headache. She recalled the truth. Marquis Freeheiden's greatest weakness is that he suffers from chronic headaches. It's the result of a curse placed upon the imperial ancestors in exchange for receiving some of the goddess's power. Since then, the imperial family members have been able to freely manipulate mana, but at the cost of suffering severe migraines. The greater the power, the more intense the pain. The two sons of the current emperor, who are said to have the greatest power of all time, aren't free from the curse either. Crown Prince Mikhail, the male lead of the novel and Rhianna's lover, and Terence, the illegitimate child the emperor had out of wedlock. Terence's mother was Marquis Mola's daughter and the emperor's first fiancée. One day, the emperor's older brother suddenly died. Ethel gazed thoughtfully at the man walking beside her. Terence can't even call the emperor his father, and he's constantly targeted by Duke Velvet's assassins, she thought bitterly. He seems like a nice guy. It's so unfair. In the novel, his chronic migraines, symptoms of a powerful curse, were one of the main reasons why he eventually lost his way. As the pain grew unbearable, Terence resorted to a dangerous drug known as the Devil's Claw, a powerful painkiller with devastating side effects. On the other hand, Crown Prince Mikhail, who suffered from the same curse, had Rhianna. She possessed the blessing of the goddess, allowing her to neutralize the effects of the curse. The writer's favoritism is ridiculous, Ethel thought. One son gets everything: status, power, a lover with divine powers, while the other is left to rot in the shadows, simply because he was born out of wedlock. It's cruel. Overwhelmed by despair and drug dependency, Terence's story spiraled into darkness. In the original plot, he lost himself. He turned to the dark side, and eventually, here you are! The shopkeeper interrupted her thoughts, handing over a small package. Thank you, Ethel said politely. As they left the shop, her gaze drifted to the bag in her hand. This healing tea, it's what Terence needs. It was originally invented by the future Rihanna, a medicine to calm the excruciating headaches suffered by the imperial family. But what does it matter if I steal the idea? Ethel reasoned. My original plan was to get divorced with Terence's help and flee the Empire before the war for the throne explodes, but now that I know him a little better, I can't help but feel sorry for him. She turned to Terence and smiled. Shall we move on to the next place? As long as he drinks the healing tea, she reassured herself, he won't fall into addiction. Later, the pair wandered through a serene temple garden. Ethel held a small bottle carefully in her hands. What do you need the holy water for? Terence asked curiously. I need it to make something, Ethel replied, trying to sound vague. It's an ingredient for your tea, she added mentally, he said. This place is much less crowded than the Grand Temple, she admits. I didn't know there was a temple in the Wanderer's Forest. Suddenly, Terence's demeanor changed. This way, he whispered urgently and bolted forward. Confused, Ethel followed him. Terence quickly drew his sword, grabbing her by the arm and pulling her behind a tree. What are you doing? She whispered sharply, frightened. Tell me what's going. He tried to hush her, holding her too close. His eyes scanned the area sharply. Someone was there. Someone was following them. Tara, he murmured. Did she follow us? Without hesitation, he lunged toward the figure. Tara, caught off guard, barely managed to defend herself. But Terence's skills were far superior, and in seconds he had her pinned. Why did you follow us? He demanded. I didn't, Tara shouted. My lady, Terence asked. You know this woman? Turning back to Ethel. Yes, she said, glaring at the woman. She's a maid from my husband's household. I happened to see you and wanted to speak to you about something, Tara said hesitantly. Ethel snapped. If that were true, you wouldn't have followed us in secret. Did Rihanna send you to tail us? Pardon? No, not at all. Why would Lady Rihanna? Do you think I don't know, Tara? Ethel's eyes flared with anger. How many times have you followed me and exposed my weaknesses to trap me? Tara Spello, Rihanna's loyal dog. Her past was tragic. Her family was once rewarded with land for loyal service to their master's house. But it had all been a ruse. The land was taken, her family destroyed, and Tara herself had lost everything. In her past life, she had taken revenge, murdered a nobleman, and was executed. But in her second life, Rihanna had sought her out, saved her, and recruited her for her talent in espionage. Feeling the cold edge of Terence's sword still at her throat, Tara whispered. How would you like me to proceed, my lady? Ethel asked. Could you excuse us for a moment? Terence nodded and stepped back. Very well. I'll stay just out of earshot, he said, returning his sword to its sheath. Ethel walked up to Tara and whispered in her ear. Cooperate with me, and I'll tell you the whereabouts of your enemy, Viscount Chillian. Tara's eyes widened. How would you? It's a secret, Ethel said playfully. Just like Rihanna. Haven't you wondered how she knows so much? She's not a god. It doesn't matter if you have the same ability as Lady Rihanna. She is my savior. You are not, Tara said stubbornly. Is that so? Ethel asked calmly. Then why hasn't she told you where Chillian is yet? She said she would, when the time is right, Tara muttered, trembling. The right time? Why wait? Ethel pressed. You must know she's lying too. Shut up! Tara exploded, standing in rage. Don't you want to know what information I have? Ethel blinked, startled by the outburst. To Tara, she thought, revenge clearly comes before loyalty.